have here is a 2019 F150, and this is the Powerstroke model. So this is the one with the 3-liter V6. Apparently they're kind of rare. We just picked this up, I'd say last year. I've put about 15,000 miles on it, so in some future videos we'll talk about what kind of gas mileage, what kind of questions you guys might have. Just got these in, so we're going to start out with one of our first modifications. Is going to be the Amp Research Powersteps. I think they make a really good product, made in USA. I think this would be a good addition on this truck. So we're going to get into this. We're going to do some other mods to this truck, do some other things to it, but this will be the first video. So anybody that's wanting to put a set of Powersteps on their F150s or other trucks, supposedly it's pretty straightforward, plug and play, everything pretty much bolts up, so we're going to find out. So let's get it out of the box. I would call this the idler bracket. This is the one that doesn't have any activation to it. It looks like really nice part. The pivot points. Yeah, I'm really liking this. This is a really nice part. This is the one that has the motor that goes to it. I was just reading the instructions and they're saying go ahead and mount the motor first. So set this up as a little table, and I assume these are probably the motors. See which way to orient the motor. Looks like it can go one of 3 ways. I would say like that. The next day here, we had a little weather last night. Decided to put this off until this morning. They gave me a little bit of time to go ahead and gather up some tools. I went down the list. They're saying, you know, 13mm, 10mm, a couple wrenches, some Allen wrenches. Once we get to the electrical portion of it, right now I'm just going to install the mechanical portion of the Powersteps, and then we'll get into the electrical side of it. I am going to add a little bit of grease just on the tip, which this is like a white lithium type lube. So I am going to add a little bit just onto this because it goes into a little bushing or a bearing. Not a lot. And then that's the bushing that's down in there. I don't know if you can see that. Just my opinion, Amp doesn't really mention anything about it, but it is a bushing, and I just feel that it's going to need something. So it's going to fit down in there basically like that, and then that pinion is going to sit inside there. So here's the dust cover. Let's see, upside down. boards installed. Do not have the motors bolted up to them right now. So I'm going to lay the wiring harness. And I was just reading the instructions real quick. We've got battery connection. Going to go to your positive and your negative. So I'm going to try to find some way to lay this in here nice so it looks all factory and it's not just laying up here. This is going to be the controller. So the control module I'm going to mount someplace around here in the battery area and try to make that look nice. Now they were saying that there's a long side to the harness, which is this, which goes to the driver, and a short side to the harness, which goes to the passenger side power board. So I just started running those and just starting to kind of lay everything and just trying to, you know, figure this out. What's going to most likely be the best way to route this so I'm not going on top of the engine or on the turbocharger or some hot parts or something like that. So let me show you what I found on the other side. This is a fairly new truck, and I noticed the inner fender well is pretty loose. Well, there should be a push pin, one of those Christmas tree plastic things, right here in this hole. It's not. It's missing. And there should be another one right up here on the top. It's not. It's missing. Should be another one right here. It's missing. Should be one right back here in the back of the fender well. Right here. It's not. It's missing. So the flare that's right here, the Christmas tree is missing from the flare. So then I started looking around. Let's go over to the passenger side. So this is the belly pan, and well, looky here, like, so the belly pan's just sitting here flopping, and once again, more hardware missing. So there should be a nut right there holding this belly pan on. It's not there. I've been having this rattle going down the road. We live on a dirt road, and it kind of bugged me. And I thought, you know, it's a brand new truck. This truck used to be really quiet, and I didn't really think much about it other than the truck starting to break in, maybe some noises, you know. So I decided, well, all this missing hardware, let's go check the rest of the belly pan out. And this is what I found. So this front belly pan that goes underneath the differential has these two bolts, and they would have been, so these are the two clips I found that were broken. So these bolts go through and lock into the frame, and they were threaded on about that much. And so the hardware in the belly pan was just sitting there beating against the frame on both sides, and these were not tight at all. And the reason being, I suspect, is whoever put an impact gun on it probably broke these when they went to spin it off, and the impact gun broke them, both of them. So I just got through taking a pair of vice grips and a little bit of penetrating oil and my impact gun, and I was able to zap them off. So I recently had this truck at the dealership to replace the EGR valve. If you look inside the fender well, right in here, this is where the EGR cooler is. Once again, this is a diesel. This is the 3-liter diesel. There's the EGR cooler. There was a recall on it. So I'll bet you this fender, inner fender, had to come out. And I also noticed there's socket wrench marks on my lug nuts. So they clearly took the tire off, pulled the inner fender out, and barely put my inner fender back in there. You know, once again, $50,000 truck, brand new. You take it to the dealership to try to get some stuff done under warranty, and it starts to make you wonder how good a job did they do. So I'm not saying it's all dealerships. I know mechanics are in a hurry. They're trying to make their time. But I mean, come on, guys. How hard is it to go to the parts room and go get, you know, a few of these Christmas trees if you broke one or lost one? There's like 5 of them missing on this side, bolt on the other side, and then the belly pan across the front. It's just kind of annoying. It's kind of a hassle. Not really complaining, but it's just something that you should be aware of when you go to the dealership, that you may not get your vehicle back just like you dropped it off. So I'm going to get back to this power board installation, and we'll go from there. 4 LEDs hooked up. I've got my 2 motors plugged in. I've got the harnesses run passenger side, driver side, run across the engine bay. And it's getting down to, this is what activates it. This plugs into your OBD2 connector, the port underneath the dash. So it's these 2 purple wires, and this is the OBD2, pretty common. This is going to plug in underneath in the OBD2 port underneath, so we are going to have to run the wires through the floorboard. So they show on the instructions, there is a rubber grommet on the floor panel. It's about right here where my hand is, and I can just reach under there and feel it. So I pop these 2 clips off, hold this piece of trim plastic off, and then just kind of lift up on the molding and get it out of the way. And right here is the grommet. So it's literally the length of this screwdriver is right there. So we're going to poke a hole through it to run these 2 purple trigger wires up. And, well, the whole thing popped out. So, and poke a hole. And then we're going to run the 2 purple wires. Kind of grab them. Don't cut them on the edge of the hole. Don't pull on them real hard. Kind of keep working them. There's one. There's the other. We can go ahead and insert them in our grommet. So dirty side down, clean side up. Going to insert the first one. See if we can do this. To this. A little difficult. There we go. There's one. Now they recommended drilling a hole. I think it'd make too big of a hole myself personally. So if you just poke a hole in there, it's, as you can see, it's sealed on there pretty good. Unless you're in, you know, some deep water or something. I don't see anything getting up into the cab of the truck. There it goes. So later on, maybe I'll clean this and put a dab of silicone RTV around it once it's underneath the vehicle, and then that would definitely waterproof it. And then chase this down, reach under the carpet, and reinsert the plug. Just like that. And then we have our 2 purple wires. So then you're going to have to route the purple wires. We got to get them up to come through the chase right here. You got to kind of sneak these up behind here until you feel it poke through, and then grab them. So that's why it's necessary to pull this piece of rubber loose so you can get to the behind there, and then just put your piece of trim back. These are the connections they provide for the OBD2 connectors. So once you strip it, I'd say about 1/4 of an inch. Slide the little plastic piece on. It'll stick out about that far. And if you notice, there's a little threaded insert inside there. It goes next to it. And then the 2, pushing it together, you just tighten the little collar. Like that, and then there is your connection, and do the same thing for the other end. Now be mindful, purple wire, there is one with a black trace, so make sure you match the black trace with the black trace. So we'll do that one first. So that's this one. Tighten them both, always give a little tug, and we are connected. So black to black, purple to purple. Now we just have the common purple color. Tighten both, pull, pull. There you go. Now this is ready to plug into the OBD2 port. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Then tuck your wires back behind the kick panel, and then you're going to plug your dongle into your OBD2, and then these wires go back behind here. It's a pretty clean installation, just so you kind of see. It is a one-way connector, it's triangulated, so there's only one way to put it. Push it in, and everything's up and out of the way, nice and neat. So this is what the installation looks complete. So that is the rear of the vehicle, and then I ran the wiring and the tubing on top of the wiring, on top of the brake lines, kind of tucked everything nice and neat, everything's kind of secure. Ran extra tubing, the convoluted down here to the LED lights, so this is all nice. I'm underneath the vehicle trying to show this. This is the grommet that goes through the floor with the purple wires. Ran this over to here, electrical tape the convoluted tubing into it, made a nice little T. Tightened all that up. The harness comes from over here by the brake booster. Ran it along the top. Still need to trim these little tails. Ran it across here. Had to drill a little tiny hole in the plastic trim to hold this so that it wouldn't fall down. I couldn't find any good way to attach that, but I don't think that's too bad. And ran it across over to the other side. This is where the power gets its connection off the battery. This is a factory post, 10mm nut. Undid the nut, slipped the loop connector over, tighten the nut down, and you're able to retain the original battery cover, and you just run the wire underneath. This is the fuse that arms the power boards. Kind of hard to see. So I still have the fuse out. All the wiring runs across the top and then down through the fender well here for the passenger side, and then this is for the driver's side. This is the module, so I decided to tie wrap it for now. I'd like to have a nice little bracket, but I think this is going to be fine for now. I would like some sort of bracket or something, but that was the cleanest place I could find to put it. So I do have the connections plugged in, and then our ground and our hot. So this should be ready to go. There's one other thing to note. On the back of this module, there is this connector, and what they're talking about is they basically have two D connectors. So there's two on this side, one there, and there's one D connector on this side. If you rotate the plug around accidentally and force it to go in the wrong way, it will plug into this module backwards. So make sure that you have the two D connectors going to the 2D and the 1D going to the 1D. Make sure that they're oriented so that they want to play nice together and plug in. If not, you can either fry the module or damage your vehicle. So that is on the plug that's on the back of this module. This comes with it, but that's all they're looking for, is to make sure that you plug it up correctly prior to energizing it. Alright, moment of truth. It's time to put the magical fuse in. So either good things are going to happen or bad things are going to happen. So this is totally wired. The system is hot. I decided to leave the doors open because the power boards are down. So just going to start with that. There was really no instruction to it. So let's put the fuse in. Fuse is in. Power boards are down. Watch yourself, Ellie. We're going to close that door, and I'm going to walk over to the other side and close the other. The doors are closed. All right, you ready, Ellie? We're going to open the door, see what happens. Heck yeah. Let's see if our LEDs are working. And they are. Kind of hard to see daylight, but they are working. So we're going to close the door. I said it takes a couple seconds and then they will retract. Awesome. I call this a win. So no magical smoke came out when I put the fuse in, so everything's wired up. I think we're good to go. Gonna get this out of the shop, get the shop cleaned up, and we'll see you next time, and we'll talk about this truck some more. Thank you for your support.